Operation Trident, the attack on Karachi. 1971, the Chief of Naval Staff of the Indian Navy, Admiral Nanda, had concluded from available intelligence that an attack by Pakistan was imminent around December 3, 1971. So he ordered the Western Fleet to clear Bombay Harbour by December 2nd. The captain of each ship was given sealed envelopes that contained orders for the attack on Karachi. These were to be opened only upon the outbreak of war. The fleet cleared Bombay Harbour. That is when the third war between India and Pakistan broke out. This was approximately 12 hours after the Indian Navy's Western Fleet was at sea. So, when the first Pakistan attack on the Indian airfields took place on the evening of December 3, 1971, the Indian Navy was in a position to give a near immediate response. Initially, the Western Fleet was deployed in an area about 200 to 300 nautical miles from Karachi. The primary role of the Western Fleet was to pose a threat to Karachi. The plan was to remain outside the seaward radius of the operation of Pakistani aircraft by the day and to attack by night, because these aircrafts did not have night attack capability. In this manner, the attention of the Pakistani fleet would be drawn towards the Indian fleet operating to the west of Karachi, thereby allowing the missile boats to make a thrust from the Saurashtra coast. 3 missile boat attacks were originally planned. These were codenamed Operation Trident on December 4, 1971, Operation Python on December 6th, and Operation Triumph on December 10th of 1971. Operation Trident. The first missile attack on Karachi, codenamed Operation Trident, was conceived, planned, and executed by the officers of Missile Squadron 25KS. Extensive workups for the commanders and crews of the OSA missile boats were carried out in the drills, firing up practice missiles. It was found that the missile boats needed to be accompanied by bigger ships. The missile boats were escorted by 2 Petias, INS Kilton and INS Kachal. Missile attacks were to be carried out by the missile boats INS Nipat, INS Nirghat and INS Veer. They were armed with 4 missiles each. Meanwhile, Pakistan had warned all merchant ships bound for Karachi not to approach within 75 nautical miles of the harbour between sunset and dawn. This meant that any ship picked up on radar within the distance was most likely to be a Pakistani naval vessel on patrol. Missile boat K-25 Squadron Commander Babru Yadav placed himself aboard INS Nipat to lead the first attack on Karachi. The OSA missile boats took off in an arrowhead formation, with INS Nipat leading, INS Nirghat to port on the left, and INS Veer to starboard on the right. INS Kilton was lying astern, that is, in line and behind. The oil tanker INS Poshak was stationed midway, and her latitude and longitude were made available to the task force. Sunset was at 1812 hours, that is 6:12 p.m., and the task group was heading northward for Karachi at high speed, hugging the Saurashtra coast. The orders were that maximum missiles should be fired in the first attack, as surprise was considered the dominant factor for overall success. They were in arrowhead formation, with Nirghat 5 miles on the port quarter and Veer lagging behind on the starboard quarter. At approximately 22:30 hours, that is 10:30 p.m., Commander Yadav was about 40 miles from Karachi and saw a blip on his radar. He evaluated it as a warship coming towards their formation. In view of the high rate of closing, he ordered Nirghat to alter course and engage this target. The Pakistani warship engaged by INS Nirghat was the Pakistani destroyer PNS Khyber. The Khyber was patrolling the southwest approaches to Karachi at approximately 22:15 hours, and that is when it identified from a radar contact that an enemy force was approaching Karachi. She altered course and increased speed to intercept the Indian attack force. At about 22:40 hours, that is 10:40 p.m., PNS Khyber was within INS Nirghat's range at a distance of approximately 20 nautical miles. Nirghat fired her first missile at Khyber. The crew of the Khyber mistook the approaching missile to be an aircraft and opened up close-range anti-aircraft guns, but did not succeed in preventing the missile from hitting her. The first missile struck Khyber on the starboard side just below the electrician mess deck at about 22:45 hours. The ship immediately lost propulsion and plunged into darkness. A huge flame shot up in boiler number 1 and a thick black smoke poured out of the funnel. In complete darkness, officers from the PNS Khyber passed the message to Karachi headquarters of being under air attack. Pakistan Navy's minesweeper PNS Muhafiz, which was on patrol, was sent out to assist PNS Khyber. PNS Khyber was now 17 nautical miles away from INS Nirghat. So Commander Yadav ordered Nirghat to fire its second missile at Khyber. The second missile also successfully hit Khyber. Muhafiz was quickly approaching Khyber and it witnessed the second missile hitting it. INS Veer, meanwhile, reported contact line on her starboard bow with PNS Muhafiz. Commander Yadav ordered them to engage this target. The missile immediately locked on and INS Veer fired at PNS Muhafiz. PNS Muhafiz was heading towards the burning wreckage of PNS Khyber when she saw a ball of light hurtling towards her, and she too suffered a direct missile hit towards the rear of the ship. PNS Muhafiz caught fire immediately and disintegrated and sank fast. So fast that it was not even able to send out a distress message. The Pakistan Navy had lost its first vessel. The second missile hit the Khyber at approximately 22:50 hours, that is 10:50 p.m. PNS Khyber began to list to port, that is, it started taking on water and tilting on one side. Soon, the list to port became dangerous and the ship had become enveloped with uncontrollable fires. It was decided to abandon ship. Within 15 minutes, PNS Khyber had been abandoned by all those who could leave the ship. As men jumped from the sinking destroyer, more explosions continued to rock the ship due to the bursting of ammunition. The Khyber went down at 23:50, 11:50 p.m. On the radar screen of INS Nipat, the Khyber first showed as a blip. After being hit, the blip started diminishing in its size till it disappeared altogether. PNS Khyber was no more. After the sinking of Khyber, Commander Yadav ordered INS Kiltan to join Nirghat, while INS Nipat continued to steer north with INS Veer on its starboard quarter. Soon after, Commander Yadav's radar on INS Nipat also developed two firm contacts at about 25 nautical miles. These were Pakistan's PNS Shah Jahan and Venus Challenger. The port of Karachi was about 32 miles. Nipat fired its first missile at Venus Challenger. The missile scored a direct hit and the Venus Challenger exploded immediately. On the radar of Nipat, the first blip broke into two distinct ones and then disappeared altogether. The Venus Challenger was sunk. INS Nipat fired its second missile at PNS Shah Jahan and again scored a direct hit. PNS Shah Jahan did not sink as a result of the hit, but was severely damaged and made inoperational. By this time, the distance between the three boats had opened out. Time and distance precluded the two boats from rejoining Nipat, so Commander Yadav instructed them to act independently and rendezvous as planned with the tanker INS Poshak. Having two more missiles left in its armor, Commander Yadav continued further towards Karachi. That is when Nipat's radar picked up the Kiamari oil tanks. The range was 18 miles and Nipat fired her third missile. INS Nipat scored yet another direct hit on the oil tanks The tanks exploded immediately with an explosion so big that it could be seen on the horizon. Commander Yadav reversed course to get outside the Pakistan Air Force's attack range by first light, with the intention of fueling and returning to Bombay at high speed. On his way back, Commander Yadav broke radio silence to transmit the code of a successful missile attack on enemy installations. The code was Angar. The attack had been successfully executed in accordance with all the plans prepared by the Indian Navy. The message was received at the MOR, the Maritime Operations Room, in Bombay on December 4th with great jubilation. Operation Trident was a huge success.